Today we're going to be talking about the left hand, and specifically how to use it for cues. When we're using the left hand has some specific responsibilities that it's over. Some of those responsibilities include cueing, expression of dynamics, illustrating style, whether it's shorter or longer articulations, for example. Could also indicate a mood. What's the mood of the piece? It can indicate phrasing, from the start to the end of a phrase. And finally, it can be used to mirror time with the right hand. During this chapter, we're going to focus specifically on the cueing aspect. We'll get to dynamics and phrases and all of those things a little bit later. But we'll work on the left hand as a cueing instrument. To start with, before we do anything with cues, we have to know where our left hand belongs when it's not in use. The right hand we already know about, and our posture is going to be good and our stance is going to be good, but what do we do with this thing? We do not want to see the left hand dangling at your side. The problem with this is that you're going to have a limited amount of time to bring it into position to use. And so when it's down at the side, not only does it look somewhat sloppy, but it also doesn't allow for a quick travel time from rest to use. We've also seen people who take their left hand and they place it on their belly as if they've got a bellyache, and they're up here like this. Again, the travel time from here to here is relatively long, and it kind of looks like you're sick. So probably don't want to have it like that. Anthony Maiello suggests that we use a very specific technique, which is where we take our left hand, we bring our middle finger and our thumb together into this position. We then take our arm and comfortably move it back so that it's right around the sternum level. When it's right at this level, it's easily accessible to come out for use. It's a short travel time, and it can be used to get to a nice comfortable spot that looks good while your right hand might be doing something else. To help us with this, we're going to do an exercise similar to the Malkin exercises that you saw on the discussion board. This one is going to involve us using a one pattern. The one pattern in our right hand is just going to stay comfortably moving. You can do this at any tempo, slow at first, and then faster as we go. The left hand is going to be in our comfortable rest position right at the sternum. What we're going to do is we're going to take 4 beats and we're going to move our left hand out into a usable position. It'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to come back. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do this together, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This of course can be done in 3s also, and 2s and 1s. So as you're practicing your patterns, you might do it in a 4 pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 3s. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or we could do it in 2s. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. The goal will be for you to move your left arm out in 1 beat. So no matter what pattern you're doing here, you can move in 1 beat from this position to this position. And we'll talk about the wrist and what we do with that in just a second. But let's say we're doing a 1 pattern and we're going to get used to going 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. If we want to do it in 2s, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or 3s, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Notice you can pick a beat as you do this too. Let's say you want to do it on 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's kind of a fun exercise. And then the same thing can happen with 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's fun to keep the count in your head as you go. So all of those things can happen with the left hand, and your goal is to take this left hand and move it out into a usable position. With the cue, there are a few things that we need to keep in mind when we're using the left hand. The reasons for using a cue are 4. This is, by the way, on page 53 of your book. The first reason is to alert the performers that there's an entrance that's coming. The second is to assist performers who maybe have been resting for a while and need a quick reminder, oh yeah, something's coming up. The third thing is to highlight some sort of musical motive, something that's in the theme, something that's in the style that needs to be brought out. And the fourth is going to be to visually guide our performers, and the listeners as well, who are watching from the sides and behind, for all the different transitions of music, the different things that are going to be happening during the piece of music. You are, in essence, with your body, showing exactly what is coming. And you want not only the performers, but the audience to know those things as well. You're a visual cue for them. When you do gestures like these, the gestures must be, first and foremost, legible. They have to be clear to whoever it is who's watching, the musicians or the audience. The second thing is that it needs to show some sort of message to the performer. It needs to indicate what the style is or how the entrance should happen. And then finally, it should include a preparatory beat. There always has to be a preparatory beat before the gesture is given. All cues, this is on page 53 and I want to make sure that you know this, all cues should be executed in relationship to the tempo, the dynamics, and the musical style. You would never do a march, jump, ba-bum, 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 and do a cue that's some sort of lazy hum, that's more appropriate for maybe something slower. It's kind of lazy looking. Has to be very precise. And that's where we want to start. I'm going to give you some gestures that will work. It is by no means an exhaustive list. There are lots of gestures for cues. But here's some that might be helpful. The first one is one that I call a dart throwing method. You take your left hand and you pull it out with your fingers together. Again, you could use this one, you could use this one, whichever one it is that you want to use. But you're going to take your dart, you're going to pull it back in a preparatory beat, and then you're going to throw it on the beat. So if you want a cue to come, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. We do it from the side so that you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And you pull back on the beat before as your prep, and then you release, and you pull the thumb and the finger apart, just like you'd be throwing a dart. That is one type of cue that could be used to bring people in. Another type, oh by the way, of course, as you do that, you have to have your right hand continually moving. So if I'm in a 4 pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Or another one you could use is you could put it on beat 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please notice that every time I do a cue, I have a preparatory beat ahead of that. If I'm doing it in 2, on beat 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to have the preparatory beat and then the release. A couple of other techniques that could be used for cues, because not all are dart throwing, because that wouldn't match all the styles. Some of the ones that will work for you could be using an inverted C, where you come this way. And one, and one, 2, 1. I don't use this one too often. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. But that could certainly be used. You could also use an actual C version, where we're going 1, 2, 3. You'll notice here, 1, 2, 3. I'm not throwing a dart. There's none of this motion. In this case, I'm taking it and I'm opening the palm as if I'm inviting you to come and participate in the musical experience. Another one that could happen could be a straight downward motion. Boom, boom. You'll notice that my body elongates when I do that because it tends to be a very powerful gesture. Boom. Sometimes you could use a fist. Sometimes you could keep your fingers like this. 1, something like that, some strong downward motion. And the last one could be a very gentle lifting one. As you're going along, you might give a nice and lift, and lift. And you'll notice that my body responds to whatever my left hand cue is. It might be a strong, sort of very powerful upper body. It could be a more inviting, gentle, leaning in sort of thing that my body does with it. Anyway you look at it, the left hand and the body are strongly connected, and how you use both will be very important. There are many, many different gestures. These are just a few of them. And so I encourage you to practice a variety of gestures.